Brussels is burning, Washington is demanding the impossible, and the economic engines of the West are stalling out. Today, we are looking at a Europe that is tearing itself apart from the inside, a French government that has effectively ceased to function, and an American administration that is telling you one thing about your wallet while the numbers tell a completely different story. And if you think the political chaos is bad, wait until you hear the ultimatum the Pentagon just delivered to its European allies. It is a game changer that most people are completely ignoring. Stay with me, because I've saved the most explosive piece of the puzzle for the very end of this broadcast. I used to sit in the editorial meetings of a massive household name media corporation. I watched as complex truths were shaved down to fit simple, comfortable narratives, and I realized I couldn't be a part of that machine anymore. I walked away to find the signal in the noise. Now I'm independent, I answer to no one but you, and I tell you what the establishment is too polite to say. But independence comes at a price. We do the hard work of fact-checking to ensure you aren't fed fake news, and we can't do it without you. Please take a second to like this video and subscribe. If you value this kind of raw honesty, consider sponsoring the channel. It means the world to us and keeps the lights on. Let's start in the heart of the European Union, where a scandal has just erupted that reads like a bad political thriller. You might remember Federica Mogherini, the former top diplomat for the EU. Well, she and Stefano Sannino, another high-ranking heavy hitter who was running the European External Action Service, have found themselves in the crosshairs of the European Public Prosecutor. We are talking about allegations of corruption, fraud with government contracts, and conflicts of interest. They were both detained for 10 hours of questioning before being released. Mogherini, who had moved on to run the prestigious College of Europe, has resigned, claiming she wants to preserve the institution's integrity even while denying the charges. Now you might look at the contract in question, about 650,000 euros, and think, Andrew, in a multi-billion euro budget, that's peanuts. And mathematically you'd be right. But symbolically, it is catastrophic. This is ammunition for every critic who says Brussels is an ivory tower of self-serving bureaucrats. Nationalist parties are already having a field day, and you can bet that Moscow is laughing, painting the EU as a hypocrite that lectures the world on democracy while its own house is dirty. This puts immense pressure on Ursula von der Leyen, who is already walking on thin ice. But if you think corruption is the only thing rotting the foundation, wait until you see what's happening to the industry that actually pays the bills. While the diplomats are lawyering up, the real tectonic shift is happening in the factories. The European Union is blinking in the face of reality. They are planning to delay key legislation that was supposed to seal the doom of the internal combustion engine by 2035. This decision, which was supposed to drop on the 10th, is being pushed back, and for good reason. The captains of industry in Germany and Italy are screaming that the current path is suicide. We are seeing unprecedented pressure on Brussels to rewrite the rules before the European auto industry, the backbone of the continent's economy, collapses. Friedrich Merz in Germany is leading the charge, demanding that hybrids and high-efficiency engines stay legal. The French are warning that the ground is literally shifting beneath their feet, calling the 2035 ban a dogmatic choice rather than a technological one. And here is the reality check. While European leaders argue about regulations, Chinese manufacturers are flooding the market with cheaper electric vehicles. We are looking at a potential wave of factory closures and mass layoffs that could destabilize the entire region. The Green Deal was the flagship policy of this generation, but when faced with economic survival, it seems the flags are being lowered. But if Europe thinks its industrial problems are bad, the security bill that just arrived from Washington is going to make them weep. The United States has effectively slammed a folder on the table and told Europe, you handle this. In a closed-door meeting that has sent shockwaves through diplomatic channels, Pentagon officials told their European counterparts that by 2027, that is just 2 years away, Europe needs to take over the vast majority of NATO's conventional defense capabilities. We are talking about intelligence, missiles, and heavy armor. To replace what the Americans provide, experts say Europe would need 300,000 additional troops, 1,400 tanks, and 2,000 armored vehicles. Let's be real about what this means. This would cost at least 250 billion euros in extra spending every single year. Right now, the production lines simply do not exist to make this happen. At current rates, building that kind of arsenal takes a decade, not 24 months. This is an ultimatum born of American frustration with how slowly Europe has moved since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It aligns perfectly with the demands we're hearing from the Trump camp, pushing for a 5% GDP defense spending target by 2032. Most NATO members are celebrating finally hitting 2%, but 5%? That is a fantasy number in the current economic climate. And speaking of economic fantasies, let's look at the country that is currently the sick man of Europe. France is currently staring into an abyss. Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu resigned after just 4 weeks. He is the third head of government President Macron has lost in a single year. This isn't just a reshuffle, it's a systemic failure. This crisis hit right before the 2026 budget was supposed to be presented. And now, there is a very real chance France won't have a budget at all. The markets are watching and they are not forgiving. The deficit is spiraling out of control, expected to hit 5.4% of GDP, which is nearly double the EU limit. Earlier this year, France had to run on a bare-bones special law just to keep the state functioning, something that hadn't happened in 45 years. Now, it looks like the new normal. The national debt is at 114% of economic output. Lecornu tried to push through 30 billion euros in cuts and tax hikes, but the parliament is so fractured they wouldn't swallow the bitter pill. Goldman Sachs is already betting on a fiscal failure. If the second largest economy in the Eurozone can't pass a budget and can't control its debt, the ripple effects aren't going to stop at the French border. But before you think this is just a European problem, let's pivot back to the United States, where the economic narrative is colliding head-on with the reality at the checkout counter. Over in Washington, the Trump administration is under immense pressure to prove they understand the pain of the average American household. You hear the speeches, inflation is dead, the economy is booming. But if you look at your bank account, you know that's not the whole truth. The Federal Consumer Price Index tells us that prices in September were nearly 6% higher than they were in January. Inflation hasn't stopped. It has persisted every single month of this administration. The cost of living isn't going down. The rate at which it goes up is just fluctuating. Let's talk groceries. Despite the rhetoric that food is getting cheaper, prices are up. We saw the biggest month-to-month jump in grocery costs in 3 years just recently. Energy prices for your home? Up over 6%. Sure, gas prices have dipped a bit, and eggs aren't as expensive as they were at the peak, but we are still paying double-digit percentages more for essentials than we were before the pandemic. And it's not just goods. Next week, the Senate has to vote on extending healthcare subsidies. If they fail, millions of Americans are going to see their premiums skyrocket on January 1st. This fight already caused a massive government shutdown, and the clock is ticking again. The disconnect between the economy is great and I can't afford rent is becoming the defining political conflict of our time. We are living through a moment of truth for the Western world. Europe is paralyzed by corruption scandals in Brussels and is legally and financially unprepared for the military responsibilities Washington is forcing upon it. France, a pillar of the EU, is teetering on the edge of financial insolvency. The auto industry is begging for a reprieve from regulations that might kill it. And across the ocean, the United States is wrestling with a crisis of affordability that no amount of political rhetoric can fix. The transatlantic alliance has held the world together for decades, but today, the stress fractures are visible to everyone. Europe is being asked to rearm at a speed it cannot match, with money it does not have, while its political class is distracted by scandal. Can the West adapt before the systems break? The timeline is short and the stakes couldn't be higher. History is moving fast and we are just trying to keep up. That's where we have to leave it for now. If you found this analysis useful, please subscribe and share this video. It's the best way to support independent journalism. And if you have the means, consider sponsoring our work so we can keep digging for the truth. I'll be back tomorrow with more. We have walked through the fire today, from the collapsing government in Paris to the quiet ultimatums being whispered in Washington. It is a heavy picture, I know. When I walked away from the safety of the mainstream media, I did it because I was tired of the sanitized narratives. I wanted to build a place where we could look the truth in the eye, no matter how ugly it gets. But independence comes with a cost. Real journalism. The kind where we dig through documents, verify the timelines, and fact-check every single claim to ensure we never feed you fake news, is exhausted, unglamorous work. It is a daily battle against a flood of misinformation, and we are fighting it without a corporate safety net. That is why I'm asking you, personally, to stand with us. If you value this analysis, please hit that like button and subscribe. It is the only way we beat the algorithms that prefer comfortable lies. And if you are able, please consider sponsoring this channel. Your support doesn't just buy coffee, it buys our freedom. It allows us to keep the lights on and keep asking the questions that the establishment once ignored. We can't do this hard job without you. Thank you for trusting us with your time. Stay skeptical, and I will see you in the next one.